So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all for being here.
And you have to spin up the ball of thread before you can tell the story.
So there are multiple ways that Jim Jordan and James Comer's efforts to push back on the Russian investigation have threatened to or have taken out protections that really could help Donald Trump right now. And the most obvious of them is that they targeted Elvis Chan, right?
ELVISCHAN.
If there's a conversation that Silicon Valley companies have to have with the FBI, Elvis Chan is right there.
My title is the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Cyber Branch for San Francisco Division of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
So the leads on the Iranian hack of Donald Trump came from two places, in addition to whatever the FBI has. One is Microsoft, so that's not Elvis Chan. But the other is Google. Google also found that. They just released a report yesterday. And so that Google report would go through Elvis Chan. And if Elvis Chan is not having conversations about politically connected figures because of the witch hunt Jim Jordan has waged against him.
FBI agent Elvis Chan, the man who is saving America by censoring us from dangerous misinformation, well, he is with the FBI. He was scheduled to testify in front of Congress. They had him on the calendar, and he didn't show up. He ghosted Congress. And now we're trying to figure out what happened because he was involved with a ton of the censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop.
Then it's going to be a lot harder for Elvis Chan to engage in somewhat sensitive conversations, because the question is, can we take a broader look at the Trump campaign and see if anyone else is being hacked over Google besides Roger Stone? Or can we, how much visibility can we get on Roger Stone when he's not a criminal suspect? He's a victim. And those are actually genuinely interesting legal questions. Like the people who say we can't have 702, they're like, you don't need to investigate victims of hacking. And it's like, actually, you do. You need to get into Roger Stone's account to see who else his account might have been used to phish. If you get into Roger Stone's account, what are you going to, it's Roger Stone. What are you going to find in Roger Stone's account?
I'm an agent provocateur.
There's something there. And so yesterday, the House Judiciary dropped their lawsuit against Elvis Chan, and I'm still trying to figure out why. Elvis Chan, they were trying to force him to testify either with his own defense attorney or an FBI attorney, but not both. That's the basis of their lawsuit, and they finally dropped it yesterday. So I don't know whether he's actually going to testify. I haven't been able to chase that down yet. So that's sort of interesting.
Shout out to Jim Jordan.
The two other ways that Jim Jordan and James Comer have made Donald Trump less safe is, one, there's a Stanford report that they did, I think in 2020, that said, here are some things to think about before you publish stolen hacked documents. And those principles are the ones that people have basically adhered to so far. They're double standard in treating Donald Trump differently than they treated Hunter Biden and Hillary Clinton. But that double standard comes from that initiative. And Jordan and James Comer and Matt Taibbi and Schellenberger were all calling that censorship.
It has been almost 1 year since the first bombshell Twitter files. Looking back now, and my questions are for Mr. Taibbi and Mr. Schellenberger, what was the most alarming thing that you came across during your review of internal Twitter documents?
I think the most alarming thing that we saw was the regular stream, organized stream of communication between the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the largest tech companies in the country.
And so Jordan was trying to take out what has ended up protecting Donald Trump. And then the other thing that I keep pointing out is that the most interesting information operation in 2020 was Iranian, not Russian.
Dozens of you at home and hundreds of people across Florida received these emails sent under the guise of the Proud Boys, a white nationalist extreme group. They threatened voters if they don't vote for Trump. Turns out the emails came from Iran.
The Iranians pretended to be the Proud Boys and, under the guise of being Proud Boys, sent threatening emails to registered Democrats in Florida and some other swing states and said, we know who you're going to vote for. You better vote for Donald Trump. It was really interesting because it targeted both the far right and Democrats by stealing the identities of the Proud Boys and using them to do something. And so the fact that Roger Stone was targeted this time around, I find very interesting because it's obviously very adjacent. You actually see there are texts between Enrique Tarrio.
Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio received his sentence Tuesday. Tarrio wasn't actually in Washington on January 6th, but prosecutors argued he galvanized the Proud Boys and committed a calculated act of terrorism.
Tarrio and his MPD DC cop buddy about the fact that it wasn't really the Proud Boys trying to intimidate voters in 2020. And again, this is something that Matt Taibbi and Schellenberger grossly misrepresented because they were like, oh, these are Americans.
And Mr. Taibbi and Mr. Schellenberg, do you believe that this censorship is a form of election interference?
Absolutely it is. There's no question in my mind.
Mr. Taibbi?
Yes, I think it certainly can be.
Look, this is just Americans engaging in free speech. And no, it was actually an Iranian influence operation. That is one of the things I always come back to where I say, what is the cost of Jim Jordan's witch hunt? And the cost is that you don't watch the Iranians very closely.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm in a very dangerous business.
The cost is that you don't take the threat of Iran doing this kind of election operation seriously. And here we are, and Donald Trump is the one targeted. And again, I say this a lot. The Iranian assassination attempt against Donald Trump was real. Like, there was a guy actually recruiting hit squads to go after Donald Trump.
A Pakistani man with ties to Iran has been charged in a plot to potentially assassinate former President Trump. Federal sources claiming the man was also looking to possibly kill other government officials from both sides of the aisle.
Attorney General Merrick Garland says that it's related to the 2020 assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani.
He was also trying to find fake protesters akin to what Yevgeny Prigozhin had in 2016.
Take a look at this. This was found in his wallet during his arrest. T-shirt on the note meant starting a protest that was meant to be a diversion during an assassination attempt.
And that, I think, makes the hack of Donald Trump more dangerous. Because if there are more people trying to assassinate Donald Trump on behalf of Iran out there, then finding internal records on what the Trump campaign plans to do with protesters or with public events makes it more likely they can misuse the public event.
Being president is a dangerous thing.
Thanks for listening to Ball of Thread. Expect a new episode about every 2 weeks until the election. To support this series and get answers to your questions with a bonus Q&A podcast, go to patreon.com/balloffthread. You can join us for as little as $1 a month. We appreciate your sharing this work with anyone who cares about the Constitution, and please consider giving us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts.